The views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the participants and do not reflect the views of the streaming platforms, public access channels, the Kitty Rose lifestyle, or the program underwriters.
Tim's on my feet, stomping out the negativity. Everybody not a friend of me. Spread the love, still I move deliberately. Bully face on, but the smile be heavenly. Brooklyn girls, so they love the energy. Love sincerity, so I take the liberty to take them on a journey lyrically. Through hallways and alleys, dark days
Hey everyone, and welcome back to the next chapter where we discuss shades of gray. I am your host, Minister Kat, aka Miss Kitty Rose, and I'm back with our parenting series. Yes, I know I've taken some detours, but in the last couple of weeks you had the roundtable, safe space, town hall meeting with Quinnell's check-ins and the studio audience. And then you had last week's show with me and my husband. What did you think? Were we honest? Were we truthful? Did you feel like what you saw was authentic and real? 98%, 98%. I think that as truthful as people want to be, they still, we still have to have that accountability with each other. And I think that, when it comes to looking in that mirror, we're still finding our way. We're still navigating. But I wanted to kind of bring a different light on this Parenting Adult Children series. I wanted to bring up this particular topic of the week that I think every week is interesting, but I thought this week was interesting because of all of the conversations I've been having with so many different people around this subject. So what is the topic of the week? The topic of the week is parenting adult children a cultural problem? Is parenting adult children a cultural problem? So let's think about that. Why am I asking that question? So this is the setup, right? I was talking to one of my African brothers. And one of my African brothers, he's 42 years old. And he was saying, I have a difficult time talking to my mom because my mother still wants to talk to me like I'm 20-something years old. She just cannot accept the fact that I'm a 40-year-old something man, right? So he was like, I think this conversation is great that you're having, but, these African parents, they really need it. Then I had a conversation with one of my Asian friends, and one of my Indian friends, and they were saying how, their parents, living in a house with their parents, their parents is very territorial over their life. Their parents is even still at this day kind of arranging marriages or arranging who they should marry to or what careers that they should take, especially if they happen to live in the house. Okay, sounds familiar. Then I talked to a Spanish friend of mine, and he had the same similar situations. And then when I speak to, my peers of the Black American culture, we have, and I'll say Southerners, we have the same, my mom is trying to arrange this. My dad is trying to arrange this. My mom is involved in this. They're territorial. So it got me to thinking that as much as we think like in life, our problems are so different. Here at the next chapter, where we discuss shades of gray, because not everything is black and white, we see in the course of these last 3 seasons that we are a lot more familiar than not, than separate. We share a lot more commonalities. We share more common things than we think. We're so caught up in these stereotypes that we think that one race or one culture does something different or has separate problems that you don't have because you're not African, or you don't have because you're not Caribbean, or you don't have because you're not Asian, or you don't have because you're not Italian. And what I am learning, folks, is that it is all the same. We all have the problems with our tone. We all have problems with our expectations. We all have issues of what we want or what we envision for our children, even as adults, who they marry, how they continue to thrive or legacy. So we share these things. But hey, don't just take my word for it. What is the research? What did I find to help us navigate through this conversation, right? So while parenting adult children itself isn't a cultural problem, the dynamics and expectations surrounding it can be culturally influenced and can lead to challenges and tensions. So here's more detailed explanations, okay? Cultural influences on parent-child dynamics, cultural norms. So these cultural norms can differ depending on cultures' varying expectations about the roles and responsibilities of parents and children, especially as the children transition as the children transition into adulthood. What about communication styles? So cultural norms can influence how parents and children communicate, which can impact the quality of their relationship. What about expectations of independence? Some cultures may have different expectations regarding when and how children should become independent, which can lead to conflict with parents who hold different views. Now, this is interesting. What about potential challenges that you're not even thinking about that could arise? As children become adults, parents may struggle to adjust their roles and respect their children's autonomy, leading to boundary issues and overbearing behavior. We've had that conversation, remember? What about when differing values and priorities? Parents and adult children may have different values and priorities, leading to disagreements and misunderstandings. Now, what happens when it's a financial dependence? If adult children continue to rely on their parents financially, it can create tension and resentment on both sides. Now, what about estrangement? When they're estranged, estrangement. Am I saying that right? Estrangement. Estrangement. Unfortunately, quite a few of us are going through that. Estrangement, in some cases, strained relationships can lead to estrangement where parents and children significantly limit or end contact. What about cultural variations on parenting styles? Parenting styles, when it comes to discipline approaches, cultural norms can influence how parents discipline their children, impacting the parent-child relationship. Now, when it comes to education and expectations, which I think a lot of us fall under, cultural values can be shaped by the parents' expectations for their children's education and career paths. So how do we move forward? Well, open communication. Parents and adult children should engage in open, and honest communication to address concerns and build understanding. Establishing boundaries. Both parents and adult children need to establish healthy boundaries and respect each other's autonomy. And seeking support. If the relationships are strained, seek professional guidance or support can be beneficial. So don't run away from therapy. Cultural sensitivity, understanding the cultural differences and perspectives can help navigate the complexities of the parent-adult-child relationship. So before we go into the videos that I found in regards to my research, it's time to take a break.
My son Ricky took his life by the use of a firearm. It broke me in ways that I never knew that I could be broken. And I contemplated suicide. I still own my firearm. I keep it in a safe because I want to keep my grandson and myself safe. Store your gun securely, locked, unloaded, and away from ammo.
So did any of those things feel or sound familiar? I know I threw up on you and I gave you a lot, but I wanted to help you understand that the cultural influences on parent-child dynamics can sound and feel familiar through all these different cultures, races, identities that we have just in this, what they call melting pot, they call the United States, that has all these different identities and cultures and backgrounds. Was the challenges of boundary, having different values and priority, the cultural variations in the parenting styles? Because what about those parents that are first, what do they call immigrants, where the first generation Americans? So if your parents, are immigrants and you're first generation, your style of thinking or your understanding for parenting styles may differ from theirs because of now the government laws that may be implied in certain countries that we have here. You know what I'm saying? Like the whole Indian type of things where, daughters can't have a voice or can't say anything, but then, those daughters are now living here where you could call ACS if your mom or dad spanks you. You understand what I'm saying? So I feel like, again, we talk about the differences, but we see so many similarities. So African, Asian, Indian, Caribbean, European, Greek, Latin, and many more I am sure I can mention. However, when speaking to my friends of these cultures, I found that we all shared similar expectations and inappropriate conversations. Parents and adult children are having or not, worse, not having. Wait, I gotta say that again. Yeah, rewind, because I know what I was trying to say. So keep going. So what I said was when speaking to friends of these different cultures, I found that we all shared similar expectations and inappropriate conversations. Oh, I think I meant to say uncomfortable conversations. But parents and adult children are having, or worse, not having. So they're either having these uncomfortable conversations with no resolvement, or worse, they're not having the conversation at all. Whew. Yeah. And sidebar, that's the one thing I really have to say that I am grateful for. And that's why I think, again, I can testify to what works and what doesn't work, because I hear so many stories. I mean, at the end of the day, I guess sometimes our best lessons are also our best teachers, because at 50, not having a relationship with either one of my parents who are still alive really definitely made me not want to be that kind of parent. So I did everything in my power when something didn't feel right, or there was something that wasn't going right in how I was parenting. I called on the Holy Spirit with everything I had. Because I knew that having a relationship was more important than not. Now, don't get it twisted. When people got out of hand, like my oldest did, like most firstborn kids do, we went through a time that we weren't speaking, because at the end of the day, I'm not going to tolerate bad behavior. I don't care who you are. But that doesn't mean that I didn't ache every night wanting to speak to him. That didn't mean that I didn't ache every night. Woo! Thinking about him. Woo! So it made me just now think about that brother, friend of mine at 42, that doesn't necessarily have the kind of relationship he wants with his mother because she doesn't understand her tone. Believe me when I tell you, it is killing her more, woo, than it is killing you. Matter of fact, that first video that I want to share with you guys, we're going to break it up into 2 parts, but I want you guys to listen to what these people are saying from an African perspective, an African point of view. This video is Living with African Parents is Hard. The people are called Make It Common is where I got the information from. And this is Just Seen, Season 1, Episode 2. Take a look.
Personally, I agree with that, because one of the words that I wanted to originally use was like the experience of growing up in an African house with trauma. I said motivational and I said challenging. And the reason why I believe it's traumatic is because a lot of our parents used what I call the rod and the staff, like if everybody understands what that is. There was a lot more rod than there was staff. And I think when you're a child and things aren't being explained to you, but you're being shouted at, and to the word that you use, Princess, militant, it's like you're trying to understand life, you're also growing, you're trying to learn, you're trying to breathe, you're trying to be, but at the same time you have the only people that are supposed to be like the people you love, the way they're handling you sometimes isn't love.
It's weird that we think that way about the discipline that we had back like in our homes. Most of us find it hard to kind of admit that it was trauma and that was traumatic.
But it had to be those positive. You don't want to call your parents abusers, but that's what it is.
And it is that.
And weirdly enough, sorry to cut you, my mom, because I have 2 boys now, and in my head, like he was walking, he's getting into drawers and stuff. And in my head, I was like, oh, and I'm like, why would I do that? He's a baby, he doesn't know any better. And I told my mom, I was like, Mom, I just had to stop myself from smacking him. And this is like, I've told my friends about it before.
Your mum's mad relaxing it. I hear this thing where all these parents, they're bare relaxed with their grandkids now. There's like different people.
Listen, I'm gonna tell you what she said. She was like, don't you dare put your hands on that boy. See? And I was like, but you put your hands on me. Right? And she was like, whatever I did in your childhood, I'm sorry. And I was like, and this is a conversation that it plays in my head a lot, because I was like, she's apologizing.
That's
like
so nice.
she's validating everything that I felt, because I was just like, what are you sorry for? And she was like, anything that I did wrong is what I knew at the time to do for you. So whatever you didn't like that I did for you, don't do it for your kids.
Break out anyway.
It's about education. I think one thing that lacks with the idea of strictness is strictness probably comes from a place of fear. Like if you're guarding your child because of fear, you're not teaching your child, and ultimately anything is going to happen. But if you educate your child as to why you shouldn't touch this stove, and if you touch this stove, this is what happens, not out of fear, but true education.
Exactly. Wow. What was familiar in that video? Did that sound like just an African parent? Did that sound familiar in your house, or maybe a friend of yours that you knew had a similar feeling of abuse? Feeling of that rod and that staff? I know in my household, in a Southern family, I know that's very familiar. I know I have definitely heard many people talk about, they even want to quote the scriptures when it comes to beating a child. What they say, what's that scripture? Ooh, I can't remember the scripture right now, but no, they say spare the rod in the Bible. However, I think Southerners, they miss that, because I definitely was raised on go get that branch, go pick your branch, go pick your branch off the tree. Anybody in the control room know what that was ever told that? Go pick your branch off the tree that you want to get beaten and what would. And it didn't stop once you became an adult. I know of parents who will still slap their kids who are in their 20s. Woo, child. So I love the point though that was mentioned about education. Because I think that that's where we can sometimes fail in because we don't have the education. And what also happens is, yeah, I definitely think that something comes from fear. You know, parents are protectors. So whatever we are encouraging you, whatever we are asking or telling you to do, it's a way of protecting. But what gets messed up is that, again, what did Cornell teach us? Our tone. Our tone can be ridiculous. And instead of them hearing the instruction on how we can educate them about what we're saying, all they hear is the fear and us attacking them almost because of what we know is best for them. But they can't hear it, so that's why they end up touching the fire. What about Indian parents? Do you think we're gonna find something different? Let's go. This video is, why do Indian parents try to control their adult kids? 10 things wrong with Indian Asian parenting. I got this video from She the People TV. And yeah, let's go and see what they have to say. I think I'm playing the whole video. Oh no, I'm playing just a few minutes. But yeah, let's check out, why do Indian parents try to control their adult kids? Let's go.
Why do so many Indian parents fail to see their kids as matured individuals जो अपने decisions लेने के लायक हैं, even after they are well into their adulthood?
Right, Chan. Right, Chan. Right, Chan.
Here are 10 things that our parents could have done differently. First is telling us to follow the career of their choice. You know, nothing offbeat.
But Papa, I want to be a musician.
Doctor one समझी?
हमने इतना क्या एक्सपेक्ट किया तुमसे? 3 ऑप्शन तो दिए, डॉक्टर, IAS, इंजीनियर, कुछ भी बन जाओ, पूरा वर्ल्ड है तुम्हारे पास. Second is, oh, you hit puberty. तो कपड़े ढंग के पहनो, dress like a good girl. You know, parents consider their children as part of the family, community, and society, and not as individual thinking beings.
कहीं मुंह दिखाने के लायक भी नहीं रहता.
They instill in them the idea that it is more important to have moral values than any kind of personal growth. Number 3 is that कि थप्पड़ मारना तो discipline का एक important part है. तो हर बच्चे को थप्पड़ तो पड़ना ही चाहिए.
Do you know when brown kids get slapped at birthday parties? Every brown birthday party. Usually, it's the kid whose birthday it is.
Number 4 is comparing you to other kids for every other mistake or choice that you make. या फिर वो अपनी life को तुम्हारी life से compare करते हैं. And with that, they remind you कि तुम्हारे पास कितना ज़्यादा freedom है. Number 5th is no privacy. If you live in an Indian household, then there are chances कि तुम्हारा कभी ना कभी तो फोन चेक हुआ ही होगा. कई लोगों के घर पे लिटरली ये रूल्स होते हैं कि तुम अपना दरवाजा अंदर से लॉक नहीं कर सकते. Number 6 is that we taught all the sanskars, but our parents missed out on certain important things like financial independence. Many Indian parents continue to support their adult children financially.
Listen, I just wanted to let you know, when you get my credit card bill, it might be a little high this month.
7th is that they often send us completely unprepared for the real world. You know, the important discussions around periods, sex, consent, mental health, all these important discussions never really happen in the house. Parents do not want the space between them and their kids to be open for discussion. So they consider control and strictness as a better way to escape that. Bad idea. Number 8 is teaching us कि stereotypes में believe करो. हमारे आसपास इतने सारे stereotypes हैं, बहुत smartly हमारी हर stage of life पे वो stereotypes हमारे आसपास के लोग या कोई ना कोई तो confirm करता ही रहता है. And जो हमारे roots है, हमारी family है, उन्होंने तो हमें confirm करा ही है कि जो वो सब stereotypes बोल रहे हैं वो हाँ सही है वो. And just like that, they become a part of us and we start believing in those. Things like girls have to adjust, stay quiet about any sexual assault that happened with you, normalizing fat shaming, slut shaming. Today, one of the biggest fears that parents have कि हमारा बेटा या बेटी कहीं gay नहीं निकल जाए. या transgender ना हो. Number 9th is caste and religion.
अपना जात में लड़की मिलना आसान है का?
Growing up in Indian households, we know how important our caste and religion is. You know that we are superior or inferior to someone just because we are of a particular caste, and that we should behave accordingly. Number 10th is that parents give weird solutions to your problem. You're feeling depressed? अच्छा बाहर घुमाओ. You'll be better. तुम lesbian हो? ये देखो कितना अच्छा लड़का. He'll turn you for sure. एक बार try तो करो. Indian kids are often controlled, manipulated, and blackmailed till the very end. But why? And can we do something? Yes. Now, why do they do this?
They gave us 10. How many of the 10 were familiar for you? How many of the 10 were familiar with you as an adult child? How many of the 10 were familiar to you as a parent who behaved such a way? How many parents are out there still slapping or hitting their adult children? How many parents are still out there not giving their adult children privacy? I know for me, I won't say that I don't give my adult daughter privacy, but there's no locks on doors in my house. So the fact that she is now back living at my house, I do feel a kind of way when the door is closed, because why is the door closed? Control instead of conversation. I know that that sounded familiar and touched a lot of people's heart, because I think it's easier to try to control the situation than to try to have an honest conversation about what life is really all about. I know that whole caste and religion, woo, child. You know, definitely, you know, being raised as one of Jehovah's Witnesses, you know, it was taught about anybody who wasn't one of Jehovah's Witnesses, they were worldly people and they were not good enough to associate with. And I know that is the same in other religions. You know, the Jewish community only socializes with those of that faith. I know what caste is. We've recently just been aware of the caste system. We know that, you know, we don't think that here in America that we do caste, but when it comes to, I don't live in the projects. What's that about? You know, they must be ghetto, or they must be ignorant because they didn't go to college. Doesn't these things sound familiar? Or teaching girls to stay quiet. I don't know how many times that I have been told as an adult to be quiet, to be tame. What is it now? To be demure. Again, I don't have an Indian parent. I don't have an African parent. And in two cultures, I have found similarities in even how I parent as a African American woman. Can you honestly say that there's that many differences? I got one more for you, but before, let's take a break.
Almost Sade Skincare takes pride in using natural, nurturing skincare products to make New Yorkers glow and love their skin. For the past 30 years, we have tailor-made skincare regimens for people and their unique skin type. Now everyone can enjoy this service for free. All skin types, all ages. Your skin, your match. Simply go to SadeSkincare.com and sign up now for your free consultation.
Hey there, it's Miss KittyRose from The Next Chapter over here at BronxNet. You got a show idea or content to share that can make waves in our community? Ever find yourself stuck on what to do next? How to promote, market, or share your message effectively? Well, I've got fantastic news for you. Join me for an exclusive marketing workshop. Learn how to strategize with current market trends that creates content that truly shines. Head to bronxnet.org, click on the Join Us tab, and then select Education to sign up for my class today. Seats are limited, so don't miss out. I'm here to help you get the most of your digital content. Sign up now. I'll see you there. So, plug. For all you New York, New Jersey, and Philly ain't that far, watching us on YouTube, but here in New York, watching us on BronxNet, plug. You can sign up for my upcoming workshop that'll be in April and May, all right? So it's small, intimate classes, so you'll learn a lot, and yeah, it's a lot of fun. So come on through with your girl, all right? All right, let's go back to the show. So I said I had another video for you because I wanted to give another perspective. We did the Africans. We did some Indian. We gave my perspective as a Black woman, Southerner. So how is parenting adult children a cultural problem? Let's check out the viewpoint of two Asian young adults. And I got this video on how to deal with Asian parents from Scrubs and Soy Sauce. Part 1, season episode 14. Let's see what these two young adults had to say about how to deal with Asian parents. Check it out.
Attention. Let's start off with some cultural expectations and why it can be difficult growing up with Asian parents or growing up Asian American, where your expectations may be very different than that of your peers. So number one, the idea of not being able to talk back.
I think that can be a little difficult for some kids more than others. I think for me, I just ended up not saying a lot of things. I just kind of nodded, and then it made me not share everything with my parents.
It's hard because I think when you're a kid, your default is to respond back and try to defend yourself or explain your point of view. But oftentimes with Asian parents, when you talk back, it makes things worse. Like if you don't talk back, let's say the conversation is a 5-minute conversation, but if you talk back, then it ends up being like an hour lecture going through not only the points that they talked about, but also the ones that you talked about. So I think in a lot of ways we grow up just not standing up for ourselves or speaking up for ourselves. And then that translates to kind of how we act in the workplace too. A lot of the times I feel like Asian people tend to not fight for what they feel like they deserve, like whether it's a raise or on a project, on something that they're really passionate about.
I think we're just not very good advocates for ourselves often, which I think is a direct response from how we are with our parents, because we just kind of follow the rules and let things be.
How do you feel about the idea of my way is the highway, and that's why we don't talk back to them?
I mean, sometimes it's easier to say yes and follow along with whatever they're doing, right? And oftentimes it's probably not the worst thing. Like what they're saying isn't necessarily.
Next up, we're talking about growing up Asian American and the transition into adulthood and the empty nesting that comes along with it. So can you define empty nesting for us a little bit?
That's what happens when, you leave as a kid and you leave your house and your parents are by themselves and they have a lot more free time because they're not sending you to violin school, swimming camp, after school activities. So they ended up gaining hours and hours of free time.
This entire episode is making me sweat. I think a lot of white kids go through their rebellious phase earlier. So middle school / high school. That's when you kind of like do rebellious things. You like sneak out at night, whatever it might be. I don't even know what those kids do because I wouldn't have been allowed to do any of that. But I think a lot of Asian kids go through this rebellious phase a bit later. It's typically
Like in
college, because college is the first time you taste freedom. It's the first time you are living away from your parents, right? You have adult responsibilities like cooking, laundry, things that maybe your parents did for you that you finally have to do yourself. So for the first time, like maybe you're allowed to sleep over at a friend's or have people stay over, go out late at night, do a kickback. If you lived at home, you would not be able to lie about these things, right? It'd be impossible. But if you're at college, the opportunities are endless, right?
I think one of the biggest things, at least in America, that brings freedom is when you're able to drive yourself. So for me, I started driving probably in the middle of my junior year, which is, I think, on the relatively later side. I think that marks a pretty drastic transition. Before, you had to like wait for your parents. You have like a home base, like a car you can put like your clothes. It's like a little mini home outside of your home, that retreat. A lot of my other friends, they started driving literally like they were waiting for the day that turned 16 to get your driver's license. But for me, they're like, oh, is it like, my parents are worried, is it safe? Like, make sure your car is like, we get a car that's fine. And then also like, they're like, oh, you should only drive from your school to this, to like, there's only like 3 or 4 places that
You're allowed
to go to, which is, I think, is reasonable. Because I think when I was growing up, we didn't have like a tracking GPS or anything. So it would be bad if they didn't know where I was.
But I think so for a lot of kids, you go to college and then you kind of see how other people maybe have it with their parents. Then you start to inevitably compare, right? Like, hey, my parents don't let me do X, Y, and Z.
How often did you call your parents in college?
Every day.
Same, but not a lot of people did that.
Was it voluntary?
I mean, I think it was just part of the expectations. It wasn't really voluntary or involuntary. It was just part of your daily routine.
I think it can feel like sometimes you're really busy with random
it doesn't
stuff.
take much time, but it's like hard to, like, texting is so much easier, but it just doesn't have the same.
Right, but texting doesn't work for Asian parents.
Yeah,
especially if there's like a language barrier.
Well, let's get to this main topic here, where, you know, you're in college. It's kind of another double standard where your parents always think of you as a kid, even though they want you to grow up, and kind of navigating that. They choose you, like when it's convenient, they decide that, oh,
you're an adult now. For example, when it comes to academics and handling all that, they're like, you're an adult, you should be able to do this all on your own. Like, we shouldn't have to handhold you. But then when it comes to like
relationships, like, you don't know how to handle,
right.
What is it? Like, you need more experience. You're not an adult. Like, you're still a baby. So.
And I think on the flip side, for us, we think we're independent and we think we're strong enough to be independent, but the truth is that most of us are still financially dependent on our parents during this college time, even if they're not paying your tuition, even if you're on scholarships or grants or financial aid, if they're paying for your living expense, if they're paying for or helping with anything, technically you are still, it makes sense that they have quote unquote control over you. As you're fighting for your independence, you're like, I don't want to be controlled. I've got a taste of this freedom. I know how other kids are living and they ain't living like this. So I think college is the time where a lot of kids can fight with their parents.
Is college the first time where you kind of started lying to, like, small white lies to your parents?
I would argue that sometimes it's better to lie to Asian parents than to tell them the truth.
Can you give us an example?
Oh my goodness. Oh my, I got a page full of notes because, oh my goodness. So again, I asked the question, was any of those situations or scenarios familiar in your house, in your family, in your relationship with your adult children, in your relationship with your parents as adult children? What stood out? What was familiar? I definitely know that I heard some things that was familiar, not only in my house, but still as an adult child in my own situations with my parents at 50. So again, am I not, what is it, showing my case? Am I not, what is it, control? Am I not, giving the evidence to secure the verdict that I am right in the sense of, what's the topic? Is parenting adult children a cultural problem? I don't think so. I think it's a problem. Universal. It's a human being problem. Thank you, control room. So, what stood out to you? I'm going to tell you what stood out to me. So, let's go back to a couple of weeks, right, when we did the parenting series town hall meeting, right? The end of that forum was my middle son. And my middle son spoke on how much we have to be mindful about our tone, right? But we're teaching our children to be mindful of their tone, and we've taught them their whole life that they can't talk back, that they got to shut up. Like, what happens here, I'm law, I'm law. Everything I say is what it is, right? So now that you're adults and you get a chance to have an opinion, it still becomes limited because you are the adult child, but still child to your parents. So I love the fact that even though that town hall meeting, we didn't have any resolvement, I think it brought some awareness to us that we weren't thinking about of how much that adult child is holding back. The fact that they've had to, as a child now, limit what they can say, but now even still as an adult, they have to limit what they say. So how is that helping? If we're just following the rules, if it's just my way or the highway, again, that doesn't sound like an Asian problem. I know I've heard that in my household. I know I have said those words in my household. I know that I've heard people who of Indian descent or Spanish descent or African say those same words. And what about the point that they talked about when the parents become empty nesters? When the parents become empty nesters, the same thing happens with them that happens to everybody else. We now have this free time, and we now find ourselves, trying to figure out how to fill the day when so much of our day, well, not so much, when all of our day really consists of our children, even if we were working parents. Working parents, for the most part, work to give and provide for their children. So, the Jesus moment helped me realize again how important it is to have Jehovah and the Holy Spirit in your life. Because I remember my daughter feeling like she couldn't wait till she turned 16 so she can feel free. Now, she didn't get a car at 16. She got her car at 18. But I know that level of independence was a need for her. So it was a need for her as a Black American young woman who felt like when she went out to college, that level of freedom she was now able to have that she didn't have at home. So when I think about like her peers, for instance, she had a peer who was able to have overnight guests when she was still at home in high school. My daughter didn't know what that was like. My daughter could barely spend the night at other people's houses. My daughter didn't have a whole lot of people spend the night at my house. But now she's away in college. She's in the dorm. She's in her own apartment. She's having sleepovers. She's having her boyfriend over. That's a different type of freedom that she wasn't used to. So again, is that an Asian quality? Is that an Indian quality? Is that a Spanish quality? No, I think that's a quality that some parents have over other parents, because they mentioned white kids. They mentioned white kids having rebellion in high school. I know some Spanish kids that had rebellion in high school because they had different types of freedoms that my Black daughter didn't have. My daughter wasn't allowed to drink and smoke and do hookahs. But she had peers, same age, 16, 17, 18, 19 years old, who did those things, who were not Black, who were not Asian, who were not white. So the Jesus moment helps me to understand that you got to get out your way. Because thinking it's a cultural thing is another obstacle, is another blur, is another distraction to us dealing with what the problem is. And the problem is that we as a parents have to figure out how to meet our children where they are now today. Not what we think we know, not what we thought we knew, not what we was taught, not what was taught to us, not what was given to us, not even what we are attesting to as the testament, the gospel to do now. If it's not working, then something is wrong. And you as the parent are always the parent. When they said that parents find it convenient, they want you to be an adult when it's convenient for them. But every other time that it's not convenient for them, then we want to sun you. We want to tell you that you're not wise enough, that you're not old enough, that you're not ready enough, that you're not capable enough. But if we're not educating them in a way of having open conversation, we're just nitpicking, we're just scolding them, then what ends up happening? My daughter and my son calls me every week when they were away to college. Yes, it was a little bit routine and obligated, but it also was a desire to. Do you really want to be at a stage and a place in your life where your kids lessen the phone calls? Because you don't want to hear, because you stuck in your way of thinking? You have to pray for the Holy Spirit to give you the complete suit of armor to understand what your role is in changing the formula, changing the foundation. What we once thought we knew is not working, my friends. It's not working, my friends. It's not working, my friends. Woo! Let's take a break.
The Harlem Arts Alliance was founded in 2001, led by our chairman Boza Rivers, a local, national, and international impresario for the advancement of arts and culture, whose experience includes award-winning production of theater, film, music, and live events. At the core, Harlem Arts Alliance has cultivated a dynamic membership-based artists and arts organizations. Harlem Arts Alliance plays an essential role in the lives of emerging and established artists by helping build the resources, networks, and capacity of its richly diverse membership. Our membership includes 400-plus individual artist members and collaborators. At the core, Harlem Arts Alliance has cultivated a dynamic membership-based artists and arts organizations. Harlem Arts Alliance plays an essential role in the lives of emerging and established artists by helping build the resources, networks, and capacity of its richly diverse membership.
Great day, New Yorkers, and communities across this great state. Today, let's talk about something incredibly important for all of us, the Community Media Reinvestment Act. This bill, currently under consideration in the New York State Senate and the New York State Assembly, is vital for the future of community media access centers like BronxNet. But why is it so important? Let me break it down for you. The Community Media Reinvestment Act will secure the future of public educational and governmental community media public services across New York State. These community media networks, like BronxNet, are lifelines for local communities, providing access to essential resources such as local information, workforce training, news and analysis, studio facilities, access to technology, digital literacy, education, multimedia channels, and more. So let's join together and stand strong to advocate for the passage of the Community Media Reinvestment Act. Keep Bronx strong and Empire State strong. Para siempre.
Woo. So, I'm going to take a twist for a minute. This week's Did You Know? This week's Did You Know is going to be a little emotional because this week's Did You Know is healing a broken heart. Healing a broken heart. So for those that don't know, I am going through a broken heart. I broke up with my situation in August. So it's been about 5 months. And I still literally think of him every day, pray that he changes his mind, hope that he calls, even though I know that that's not healthy for me. And I was watching The Housewives, the current of, which one is Beverly Hills. And Kyle Richards was talking to Bowles about a picture she saw online of her separated husband and I guess whomever he's dating right now. And it made me think about how I felt the first time I saw a picture of my ex with his new situation. And it wasn't really so much that I was desiring wanting him back. It wasn't so much that Kyle was desiring wanting her husband back, even though maybe on some levels we want that. We want them to choose us. But it was more of the what it felt like, what it looked like to see the person you spent so much time with move on. Like the time that you had with them didn't matter. So as you're dealing with this broken heart, now you're watching, not on purpose, your person move on. And it made me want to be inspired to share this thought with you all, because if I knew that that was something that I felt familiar from watching television, that's one of the reasons why sharing stories is so important in the healing process. Because once again, you begin to now realize that you're not alone in that thinking and that you're not crazy for thinking or feeling sad in a moment of a decision you made. Because most of the time, it is the woman who ends up ending the relationship. So healing a broken heart takes time. And it involves acknowledging your feelings, practicing self-care, seeking support, and engaging in activities that bring you joy. So here are 5 detailed steps that I have found helpful with the help of Google. 1, and this is important, I swear to you it's important. Acknowledge your feelings and allow yourself to grieve. Don't suppress your emotions. It's crucial to allow yourself to feel the pain of heartbreak, whether it's sadness, anger, or grief. Permit yourself to grieve. Woo. Permit yourself to grieve. Heartbreak is a form of grief. And it's okay to feel all the emotions that come with that. Journal, I've been doing that, or talk about your feelings so they don't suffocate you. Expressing your emotions can be a healthy way to process them. Understanding that healing takes time. There is no set timeline for healing from a broken heart. So you got to be patient and kind to yourself. I just said that it's been 5 months and I'm still in pain. Number 2, prioritize self-care. Take care of your physical health. Get enough sleep. Eat nutritious and engage in regular physical activity. Practice mindfulness and relaxation techniques. So I've been learning how to breathe. I've been breathing more intentionally in the shower. In my meditation, I've been not just being silent with myself, but I've been going online to hear the Indian tribal music that helps with the meditation, because sometimes I can't focus. Yoga and deep breathing, like I've been doing, can help reduce stress and anxiety. Engage in activities you enjoy. Make time for some hobbies, learn some hobbies, interests and activities that bring you joy and help you feel good about yourself, and surround yourself with positive influences. Spend time with supportive friends and family and avoid people or situations and trigger negative emotions. Trigger negative emotions. Number 3, seek support. Talk to trusted friends or family members. Sharing your feelings with someone you trust can incredibly be helpful. Consider seeking professional help. I tell you, my therapist has saved my life. So a therapist or a counselor can provide guidance and support as you navigate the healing process. Join a support group. Connecting with others who have experienced similar situations can help you feel less alone. And 4, focus on the present moment. Practice gratitude. Focus on the good things in your life, and that can help shift your perspective and help you find joy. Engage in activities that bring you joy. Again, take one day at a time. Don't try to rush the healing process, but rather focus on making small steps towards recovery. So right now, one of my small steps is I have the no 30 days contact, right? So I'm on day 12. One of my sisters challenged me. She said, for 30 days, have no contact, no emails, no phones. So I'm on day 12. And number 5, move forward. Recommit to yourself. This is an opportunity to learn and grow and rediscover who you are outside of this relationship. I was with this cat for 3 years, literally every day with him. So now, even though I had my own set of my own life and my own goals and I was my own person, I still was in a partnership. So now being solo dolo, set goals and pursue your dreams. Now, shoot, I'm like a train, baby, like a truck. Focus on what you want in life and work towards achieving those goals. Be open to new experiences. That's another challenge I got. I have 30 days to complete this. I have to take myself on a date and dress up. Embrace the opportunity to meet new people and explore new interests. Accept that it's over. It's over. And eventually you will move on. And it's important to accept that the relationship is over and you have to move forward with your life. I hope those suggestions were helpful because I know that all of those steps in my tribe and my people and my therapist has been helpful. And the best way that we help each other is when you follow me and my journey by also joining the Facebook group page, sharing your experiences, sharing your tools, sharing your information, but also building awareness to what it is that I'm doing around this parenting series and all of these things that we are going through in these next chapters. In these next chapters where we discuss shades of gray because everything is not black and white. So follow me, like and subscribe, join the Facebook group page, and share with me your experiences. Because again, this is a community effort. We're all here. Yes, I am my sister's keeper. I am my brother's keeper. So let's be the change we want to see. Let's help each other and not embarrass or be shamed about the things that we're all learning. Who am I? I am your girl, Minister Cat, AKA Miss Kitty Rose. And this is the next chapter where we discuss shades of gray because not everything is black and white. So continue to join this revolution that I call Kitty Rose. And not only that, remember what I told you guys a few months ago. I'm not a 1 Corinthians member, but I am a 1 Corinthians follower or tribe member by saying that I am a love revolutionary. Because that's what we really need in this time, in this day and age. We need love, unconditional agape love, so that that love can allow us to be graceful and merciful with each other, ourselves, not the way that God is with us, but as humanly possible as Christ did when he was here, setting the example for us all. And then now we can be the example for each other. That's why I do what I do, to be an example. So be the example that you want to be. And if you don't know how to do it, once again, follow me online in my journey, join our Facebook group page, or come here every week on the next chapter where we discuss shades of gray. I'm your girl, Minister Cat, AKA Kitty Rose, and I'll see you next week. Ow.
So I take the liberty to take them on a journey lyrically through hallways and alleys, dark days I carry, sharp pains and bellies. All days be heavy when you're programmed to survive. Legendary ciphers get the MCs in the jobs.